The child had never cried, not once, not when the medicine failed, not when her tutors gave up. Not even when her own mother, Queen of Threxion, stood in the doorway, too burdened by duty to offer comfort. But when the human soldier touched her hand, she blinked once, slowly, and whispered, "Can he be my forever father?" The question did not shake the throne. It shook something far older, something that lived beneath the crown. Before we begin, let us know where you're watching from. And if stories like this stir something in you, something quiet, something true, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow's chapter might just change how you see the stars. The palace of Threxion did not echo. Its halls were designed to swallow sound not by mistake, but by tradition. Empires that lasted did not permit noise to linger. In those cold, beautiful corridors of glass and violet steel, silence was discipline. Silence was law. And Princess Kaya, the youngest royal of her line, had never broken it. She sat on the edge of a floating platform, small legs dangling over the edge like a pendulum made of bone and starlight. Her skin shimmered faintly violet, translucent in places, as if the blood beneath was made of memory. Her eyes were too large for her face. Not in a way that made her fragile, but in a way that made her see too much. The maids had stopped trying to play with her. Tutors stopped their lessons early, citing interference in the child's neural resonance. No one said the real reason out loud, that she never cried, never screamed, never laughed. Her emotions were a sealed chamber, and no key in the galaxy had yet turned in that lock, except maybe, the queen now thought, for him. She watched from the shadowed arch of the chamber as the human sat beside the child. He was not in armor. He wore no medals. Just a simple blue utility shirt with a patched shoulder and calloused hands that had once held rifles, now resting awkwardly on his knees. His name was Davin, former lieutenant, discharged with honor after the siege of Surael 9. Chose to stay behind when the humans were sent home. No one had asked why. He said nothing to Kaya. Just Saturday, silent as the palace, but different, not empty, not cold, present, and Kaya leaned toward him. The queen felt it before she saw it, a shift in the room, like breath inhaled across centuries. She took a step forward, her crown of living crystal pulsing faintly with each motion. Her voice, when it came, was a whisper forged in duty. She's never done that before. Davin looked up. His face was weathered, but not hard. His eyes were sea-colored, deep and tired, but still curious. Done what? She's never leaned toward anyone. He blinked, glanced at the girl again, and shrugged, but gently, like he didn't want to disturb whatever had just happened. Maybe she's just tired of being leaned away from. The words hit the queen harder than she let show. Kaya reached forward, touched Davin's hand with her tiny fingers. The light in her skin brightened just a little, a pulse like hope. She didn't smile, but she didn't pull away. And for the first time in a long time, the queen forgot the weight of her crown, forgot the tribunal meetings, the dying alliances, the weight of bloodlines etched into bone. She was only a mother, watching her daughter reach. The last human ship had left Threxion nearly 3 cycles ago. A slow, groaning arc of silver cutting through the clouds like a scar trying to heal. The war was over officially. The treaties signed. The dead counted and named. The living left to make sense of their breathing. Davin was meant to be on that ship. His name was on the manifest, Seat 14C, but he never boarded. He told no one, filed no report, just stayed. The queen knew. Of course she did. Nothing happened in the inner circles of Threxion without the crown's shadow falling across it. But she let it be. There were a dozen soldiers like him scattered across the system, men and women with nothing left on Earth to go home to. Some were offered quiet roles, minor duties in the outer zones. Most faded. Davin didn't fade. He worked in the underhalls, where the palace bled into the old corridors of the forgotten city below. He scrubbed walls, repaired vents, hauled crystal conduits from one end of the citadel to the other. Never complained, never asked for more. He was the kind of man who made himself useful without drawing attention, which made him dangerous in a court obsessed with performance. He was not invisible, but he made no sound, and the child noticed him. No one else would have seen it. The way her gaze tracked him as he passed, the way her fingers curled when he neared, as if mimicking the way he held tools. The way she shifted closer to the doors when he cleaned just outside them. It wasn't affection. Not at first. It was recognition. She had seen hundreds of nobles, thousands of diplomats, a galaxy's worth of polished faces trying to win favor through smiles, but none of them had hands like his, callosed, real, honest. He wasn't part of the palace, which meant, to Kaya, he might be safe. The Queen called him up not long after that first touch, not in a public decree, just a message slipped into the logs of the maintenance staff. Report to the Skyglass chamber at first light. Attire, neutral, duty, undefined. He obeyed. That surprised her. When he entered the chamber, all blue crystal and floating glass, he didn't kneel, didn't salute. Just looked around like a man asked to dinner by a storm. "You know why you're here?" the Queen asked. "No," Davin replied, not unkindly. "She likes you." He hesitated. "The child? She's not just a child. She's the last of something sacred. My people believe in inheritance not just of blood but of memory. Our daughters carry what the world was." Davin looked toward the girl. She was sketching on the wall with a stylus, drawing circles within circles, like spirals trying to remember how to be stars. "I'm not qualified for this," he said softly. "Neither was I," the Queen replied. Kaya looked up, her voice still small, still careful. "Do you have a forever father?" The Queen didn't answer. Davin did. "No," he said, "but maybe it's time I try to be one." And in the silence that followed, something unspoken began to shift, not just in the air, but in the hearts of those who still believed healing could begin with a single yes. The dining hall of the upper palace was shaped like a crescent moon split open to the stars. Its ceiling shimmered with artificial auroras, soft pulses of violet and blue weaving across a dome of living crystal. The table stretched impossibly long, carved from a single root of moonwood, older than most planets in the royal registry. But only 3 seats were occupied. The Queen sat at the head, upright and regal, her gown moving like water with each breath. Kaya perched beside her, feet tucked beneath her on the velvet cushion, chin tilted, gaze fixed not on the food, but on the man across from her. Davin, the human, the soldier who didn't leave. He sat too straight, fork in the wrong hand, knife untouched. The food looked like glass but tasted like salt and honey. He wasn't sure which bite was respectful or if it mattered at all. "Do you like it?" Kaya asked, voice light as frost. Davin glanced up, startled she'd spoken first. "It's beautiful." "That means you don't," she said, with that eerie calm children sometimes have when they've lived among too much silence. He smiled. "I think I need more practice with alien cutlery." Kaya giggled. Not a full laugh, just a single exhale that caught the edge of a smile and let it flutter into the air like a moth. The Queen didn't speak. She observed, measured, not cruelly, but carefully. She had to. Every gesture was political, every breath could be taken as an omen. Davin tried again with a different fork, picked up something that glowed faintly and brought it to his mouth. It dissolved like spun light, then spiked with heat. He winced quietly, but Kaya saw. "Too spicy?" she asked, delighted. "A bit. I like it," she said, then added, "I don't like most things." That makes 2 of us. The Queen watched this exchange like a diplomat, studying the rustle of trees before a storm. She wasn't used to letting others speak freely around Kaya, not after the incident with the last ambassador's son. He hadn't understood that Kaya could hear things others couldn't, like falseness, like flattery. The boy had lied about a gift, and Kaya hadn't spoken for 6 weeks after. But now, here she was, asking questions, engaging, smiling. Davin wiped his hands on a cloth and leaned forward slightly. "You drew something earlier. Circles inside stars. What was that?" Kaya blinked. "It's my name, or part of it." He tilted his head. "Your name looks like a constellation. It's not how it's said, it's how it remembers itself." Davin paused, unsure how to respond. "That's actually kind of beautiful." She shrugged. "I don't know what your name means. Davin is just Davin." "No," he said quietly. "It's not. On earth, it means beloved. The queen shifted in her seat. Kaya looked at him for a long moment. Were you? She asked. He didn't lie. No. And then, very softly, she reached her hand across the table and touched his wrist. The queen's eyes flickered with something ancient. Not anger, not fear, recognition. But still she said nothing. Because dinner was not the place for declarations. It was only the place where silences grew teeth. It happened on accident, not in a grand hall, not during a lesson, not under the watchful eyes of dignitaries or diplomats. It happened in the waiting chamber outside the Queen's private archive, a quiet corner of the palace where even guards spoke in whispers and light moved slower, as if respectful of the memory held in the walls. Davin was early. Kaya was earlier. He found her already seated on the floor, legs crossed, stylus in hand, drawing again this time on a discarded tablet with cracks like old scars. The lines she traced looped in wild geometry, beautiful and strange, like she was teaching herself a language that no one else knew. He didn't speak. He just sat near her, a respectful distance away, watching the lines form and disappear, then form again. She paused, glanced at him, then back at the tablet. "You're quiet," she said. "So are you. That's why I like you," she said, matter of fact. He smiled. "Guess that makes two of us." She looked at him sideways, suspicious. "You say that a lot." "What? That makes two of us." She mimicked his voice, soft, low-pitched, exaggerated. "Is it a soldier thing?" He laughed. "Just a little. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just not great with new sentences." She tilted her head, considering that. "You're not very good with forks either." "Nope. Or chairs. Definitely not." Kaya blinked, then pointed to the corner of the room where a tall ceremonial chair stood crooked, a strange, alien thing with too many armrests and a spine that coiled. Davin had tried to sit in it yesterday and nearly tipped backward. He hadn't thought anyone was watching. "You saw that?" he asked, mock, horrified. Kaya gave the smallest, most mischievous nod, and then she laughed. It wasn't much, a single bright sound. It started in her chest and surprised even her. She covered her mouth too late to hide it. Davin didn't move, didn't push it. He just let the moment stretch. "That," he said gently, "was a good sound." "Bo." She looked down at her hands. "I don't do that. You just did." It felt weird. "Most good things do at first," he said. "Like the first time you breathe after crying." "I don't cry," she said. "I know," he said. Silence again, but not empty. It curled around them like a blanket stitched from things neither of them knew how to say. Behind them, the doors to the archive opened with a whisper of steam and light. The Queen stood there, unreadable, but her gaze flicked once to her daughter. She had heard the sound. She did not smile. Queens rarely do, but something in her shoulders loosened just a little. Later, alone in her chambers, the Queen would sit on the edge of her bed and place a hand to her chest. There was no pain, no pressure, but the weight she'd carried since her daughter's birth had shifted, as if a single laugh had cracked the casing around something long thought fossilized. She whispered to no one. I forgot her voice could lift. The royal archive was older than the palace built above it. Older even than the war that had scattered human names across star maps like burn marks. Its walls weren't made of stone or metal, but of a memory-reactive mineral that shimmered in patterns when emotion passed through the room. The light on the walls that morning flickered in a dull grey rhythm like heartbeats muffled behind iron. The Queen stood before a pedestal of glass. On it lay a binding scroll, not of paper or text, but encoded threads of ancestral lore. She had unspooled it only once before, the day Kaya was born. Now she read it again, and her fingers trembled. Kaya's birthright wasn't just royalty, it was covenant. Her very bloodline was bound to the Threxian throne, not by tradition, but by treaty. Her soul was laced into the promise of legacy, memory passed through flesh, secrets etched into bone. No heir could bond to an outsider without the tribunal's consent. No heir could choose their own kin, especially not a human. The Queen knew this. Every monarch did. It had been carved into her from childhood, 100 rehearsals of duty over desire, of law over longing. And she had upheld it, perfectly, Until now, until her daughter laughed, until her daughter reached for a man who had no title, no name in the record, no place in the grand myth of Threxion, a man with scars on his hands and dirt under his nails. A man who had, with silence and gentleness, done what no advisor or priest or physician could do. He had made her daughter feel, but the law did not care about feeling. She closed the scroll and dismissed the archive keepers. Alone now, she stood beneath the amber light of the vault, the crown on her head pulsing with silent questions. She remembered her own childhood, her own rebellion. A name never spoken aloud, not since the war began. A name she buried beneath the crown she now wore with such poise. She had once wanted to choose differently too. A voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Councillor Virine, thin, pale-scaled, with a voice like glass sliding across snow. "Majesty," he said with a bow, "we've received your inquiry regarding custodial guardianship. The council will not approve." "I didn't ask for approval," the Queen said softly. Virine stiffened. "Forgive me, but Threxian law is older than the council," she finished, "and bound by memory, not fear." The councillor bowed again, lower this time. "Still, if the child declares him as kin without formal sanction, the tribunal may consider it treason." She didn't respond. She was already walking away. That evening in Kaya's chamber, Davin sat beside her as she practiced saying earth words. Dog, rain, bread. She pointed to herself. "Princess," then pointed to him. "Not prince." He laughed. "That's fair." She paused, tilted her head, then asked the question that cracked the throne's foundation. "Cannot prince become forever, father?" He froze. The Queen, standing just beyond the door, let the silence speak. And for the first time, her crown felt heavier than her heart. She began dreaming of dirt. Not the glimmering mineral soil of Threxion, but something messier, richer, brown, dark and soft, the kind of earth that made flowers instead of crystals. In her dreams, she crouched beside things with roots and petals, her fingers caked in mud, her cheeks streaked with light that had no source. She dreamed of sky, too, not the bruised green of the palace dome, but blue, simple blue, endless, like the color had forgotten how to stop. The dreams were not hers. At least, not at first. Davin had told her stories, small ones, simple, about the way earth smelled after rain, the way a dog's ears twitched in sleep, the way toast crackled when it was still too hot to touch. He never told them like they were sacred, just ordinary. And that's why she believed them, because they weren't offered as treasure, just memory. Kaya absorbed those memories like seeds. They took root in her, strange and deep. The Queen noticed first. She saw it in the way Kaya rearranged her playroom, pushing aside holograms of noble houses and replacing them with toy animals Davin had carved from discarded scraps. She saw it in the way Kaya no longer wore her memory beads, the ones every royal child was required to carry, instead tucking Davin's old bootlace around her wrist like it was a charm. And the Queen felt it in the stillness. Her daughter was changing. One morning, Kaya asked, "Do stars ever fall on Earth?" Davin nodded. "Sometimes. We call them shooting stars. Did you ever catch one?" "I tried," he said. "When I was your age, I thought if I could catch a star, I could make a wish that worked." "Did it?" "No, but I still wished." Kaya looked up. "Can I try?" Davin hesitated. "Wishing on stars only works if you really believe in something." "I do," she said. "I believe you'll stay." That broke him a little. He tried to hide it, tried to swallow it down like all soldiers do. But his voice cracked just slightly when he answered, "Then you'll catch the right star." That night, Kaya dreamed of a field with no walls. She ran barefoot, her feet not touching glass, but grass. Her laughter echoed not because she was in danger or being observed, but because it was joy for its own sake. And beside her, Davin stood beneath a sky that didn't blink. He held no weapon, wore no uniform, just a shirt with a patch where her fingers had once tugged too hard. She awoke crying, silently. No sound, just tears. The Queen entered moments later, summoned by nothing but instinct. "She dreamed of Earth again," Davin said from the doorway. The The queen looked at her daughter, small, curled, glowing faintly with wet cheeks. "She's dreaming of belonging," the queen said, then barely audible. "That's the most dangerous thing of all." The queen didn't sleep anymore. She walked the palace halls at night like a wraith stitched from old silk and heavier thoughts, her bare feet soundless against obsidian floors. The corridors whispered with ancient voices, not ghosts, but memory. Etched into the living walls of the citadel, every ruler who came before her had left a trace. So would she. She stopped often at the mirror chamber. There, beneath the arch of reflective crystal, her crown pulsed faintly atop her head, not in glory, but in weight. It wasn't always this heavy. When she was young, the crown had felt like promise, like power shaped into something precise. But now it bent against her temples like a punishment she didn't remember earning. Grief had reshaped it. Not grief for the wars, not grief for the peace she upheld like a cracked vase that no one dared fill. It was grief for the man she'd once loved and left. He had not been royalty, he had not been alien. He was Threxian-born, but his heart beat with a rhythm that didn't bow easily. They had met before she was queen, when she was still a Lyra, just a Lyra, and her name didn't choke others when they said it. He made her laugh once, a real laugh, the kind that folds your whole body, the kind she had not heard again until her daughter laughed with Davin. She had loved him. In secret, in stolen hours. She was still wearing the crown of memory, but her heart had already chosen a different lineage. And then the war came, and her choice was erased. Now she watched her daughter, this strange, luminous girl, look at Davin with the same wide, trembling hope, and it terrified her. Not because it was wrong, but because it was familiar. She descended to the armory vault that night. Not for weapons, those had rusted into irrelevance, but for the seal. The ancient sigil of the royal bloodline keeper, last touched when Kaya was born. She held it in her hands, cold and unforgiving. To rewrite the law, even to bend it, she would have to brand it with this. The bloodline seal, a mark that could only be used once per generation. She remembered the tribunal's voice, sharp as bone. To break the line is to break the world, but maybe the world was already broken. Maybe it needed something less perfect, less royal. Maybe it needed someone like Davin, whose hands were built for holding damage, not pretending it didn't exist. The queen closed the vault. She didn't press the seal, not yet. In Kaya's chamber, the girl slept in a tangle of blankets. One hand clutched something rough, a strip of cloth from Davin's old uniform. Not a toy, a comfort. The queen stood over her. "You love him," she whispered, barely believing she'd said it aloud. Kaya stirred, but didn't wake. Her lips curled faintly, and in that moment, the crown bent a little more, because now, the queen knew, this wasn't just her daughter's story. It was her second chance. The tribunal had not convened in years, not like this, not for something so small, a single child. A human man, a petition not for war nor for trade, but for guardianship. But the queen had summoned them anyway. Not out of arrogance, she wasn't foolish enough to believe she could bend the tribunal with a decree, but out of necessity. If this decision was to last beyond her reign, it had to be witnessed. It had to be written in the bones of law. The chamber of the 9 spires thrummed with the energy of old power. 9 representatives, each bearing a name older than stars, gathered beneath the dome of law. Their bodies differed, some scaled, some feathered, some rippling like water trapped in flesh, but their disdain was unified. A human. They had gathered for a human. Davin stood beneath the lightstone wearing the cleanest version of his uniform. No armor, no insignia, just the patch on his shoulder that Kaya had stitched uneven and imperfect. He didn't speak. Not yet. This place was not meant for his voice. The queen spoke first. "My daughter has named this man her forever, father," she said, her voice echoing without amplification. "I request, under Article 70 of Covenant Law, that guardianship be granted in partial bond." The chamber responded with laughter, cruel, thin, shimmering with the sound of disbelief. Councillor Creel of the Arathi clicked her mandibles. "The article you cite refers to bonds within nobility. Threxion to Palarin, Vayari to Ashun. It does not extend to humans." The queen remained still. The article speaks only of lineal intention, not species. Councillor Durin of the Pale Veil hissed softly. You would bend bloodlines for a man who fixes pipes and scrubs stone. She would bend them for a man her daughter trusts. A voice said, not the Queen's. Davin had spoken. Gasps rolled like thunder. He was not permitted to speak, not without invitation, but the tribunal, stunned, did not interrupt. Davin didn't raise his voice. You call me less. You call me a shadow. But I'm the only one who looked at that girl and didn't see a crown. I saw a child, a lonely one, who needed someone to sit with her until her silence wasn't so loud. Councillor Durin leaned forward. You seek recognition, a title, elevation? No, Davin said. I don't care about titles. I care about her. The silence that followed wasn't shocked. It was afraid, because love like that was ungovernable. Kaya entered the chamber uninvited, small and radiant in a gown she hated, dragging behind her the silence she'd always worn like armor. She walked to Davin's side, took his hand, looked at the tribunal. I choose him, she said. He is not prince, he is not noble, but he is mine. The words etched themselves into the dome, not by law, but by truth. And for the first time, the tribunal didn't laugh. They listened. No one expected the tribunal to agree. But neither did anyone expect silence. And in the silence that followed Kaya's declaration, I choose him, something ancient stirred in the chamber. Not approval, not defiance, something older than both. Invocation. Councillor Creel stood. Her voice, thin and metallic, sliced through the stillness. Then let it be tested. If he is to hold the child's inheritance, even as guardian, he must walk the ancestral rite. No. The Queen stepped forward sharply. The right hasn't been invoked in over 1,000 years. Then perhaps it is due, Creel said, gaze fixed coldly on Davin. If he is so sure of his bond, let him carry her memory. Let him walk where our blood was born. Let him survive what shaped her. Davin didn't understand. Not yet. The Queen did. The right of bones and stars wasn't a trial in the way most humans understood it. It wasn't physical. It wasn't even legal. It was ancestral, a ceremonial immersion into the living archive, a neural matrix passed down through the bloodlines of Threxian's ruling class. Only family could enter. Only kin could withstand it. Humans weren't made for this, the Queen warned. I wasn't made for most of this, Davin replied. But I'm still here. They stood at the threshold of the memory vault. The room itself was alive, its floor veined with energy, its walls pulsing in slow waves of translucent light. In the center stood a low cradle carved of starbone and wound with silver vine. Kaya approached, her small hand holding a clear prism. You don't have to, she whispered. Davin kneeled, looked her in the eye. I do. Because this isn't about proving I'm enough for them, it's proving I'll never leave you. She pressed the prism to his chest. Light engulfed him. He fell not downward, but inward, through memories that were not his, through war cries and birth pains, through coronations and betrayals, through the moment the first queen of Threxian gave up her name to protect her people, and through a quiet room where a child laughed only once, then forgot how. He was not watching these moments. He was inside them, feeling the pain behind the poise, the rage behind the rule. He saw Alira the Queen as a child, clutching her knees in the shadow of a fallen city. He saw her first love, the Forbidden One, bloodied and silenced beneath a flag that never should have flown. He saw Kaya's birth, and he saw the Queen, tears streaming silently down her face, whisper to her infant, "You will never be alone, even if I must be." He woke on the cradle floor, gasping. The chamber flickered, and Councillor Creel leaned forward. Stunned. You survived it? Davin sat up, pale and trembling. No, he said. I carried it. In the watching crowd, someone knelt. Not in defeat, in recognition. When he emerged from the vault, Davin looked the same, but nothing about him was. He walked slowly, each step deliberate, as if the memories still clung to his bones. The chamber was quiet, not out of reverence, but caution. The tribunal had seen many things, but never a human who had survived the rite of bones and stars, not without losing language, not without screaming. He had done neither. Kaya rushed to him, her hand finding his as if it had never belonged anywhere else. The queen stood beside them. For once, she did not carry her authority like a sword. She carried it like grief, heavy, quiet, and earned. "I saw your sorrow," Davin whispered to her. She didn't ask what he meant. She simply nodded, and something old between them passed without a name. But if the right had been the test, the truth that followed was the threat. A council aide, pale-skinned and breathless, burst through the chamber doors with a data slate trembling in their hands. "My queen," they gasped. "There's been an infiltration in the child archive." Gasps scattered. That wing hadn't been opened in years. The queen's voice was blade sharp. "What kind of infiltration?" They broke the cradle. Silence. Not a real cradle, not the kind made of wood and lullabies, but the cradle of the child's neural map. The archive where Kaya's full inheritance had been stored since birth. It was a map of her future, a vault of her memory, her power, her history, and someone had shattered it. The room erupted, tribunal voices colliding, accusations flying like sparks in dry air. Sabotage, blame the human, protect the heir. But the queen did not move, because she knew what it meant. Someone didn't just want to stop Kaya from choosing a guardian. They wanted to erase her future entirely. They wanted her empty, the queen whispered. They wanted her memory erased so the bloodline could be redirected, rewritten. She turned to Davin. They will come for her now, not to hurt her body, to hollow her mind. He did not speak, just pulled Kaya gently behind him. "I won't let them," he said. "You can't guard her everywhere," one counselor snapped. "No," Davin said, "but I can teach her what they fear most." "And what is that?" the queen asked. He looked down at Kaya, then back up, eyes storm blue, unwavering. "To remember." That night, they sealed the child wing. The broken cradle could not be repaired. The quantum architecture that held Kaya's future was lost. But Davin did something no one expected. He sat with her beside the broken frame and spoke of every memory he had seen in the right. He told them to her like stories. Not data, not law. Stories. She listened. Not as a princess, not as a vessel, as a child. And as she listened, something strange happened. The broken cradle, still cracked, still shattered, began to glow softly. Because memory, when given as love, cannot be erased. There were no trumpets, no declarations, no royal ceremony. It happened in a hallway, a quiet one, long and silver-lit, winding behind the throne wing where no nobles tread. The kind of hallway built for those who carry trays and towels, not titles. Davin preferred it. So did Kaya. It was theirs. He had just finished adjusting the weight dampeners on her learning chair, a task no court engineer had ever bothered with when she reached out, her small fingers resting gently on his wrist. "Dad," she said, just that. The word was soft. Not shy, not loud, just true. He didn't react at first, not visibly. Something in him simply stopped. Like a breath held too long, finally remembered to release. She said it again. "Dad." He looked at her, and something ancient flickered behind his eyes, not grief, not shock, just the fragile, trembling warmth of a man who'd been called many things, but never that. "Yes," he said, "I'm here." There was no audience, no tribunal, only the flickering of corridor lights and the sound of small hands finding larger ones. But the moment did not stay small, because one of the palace scribes, a quiet creature with skin like glass and a habit of walking unnoticed, had heard. They hadn't meant to, but they did, and they recorded it. The audio spread, first among the staff, who had once feared the human, then respected him, then quietly wished they had his steadiness. Then it reached the outer wings, where servants whispered between shifts, then the nobles, then the council. "Dad," the child had said, "not guardian, not protector, not subject of trial," and the word was heavier than law. In Threxian culture, such names were more binding than treaties. A chosen title, freely given by a royal heir, could rewrite precedents. It hadn't happened in centuries. The council met in haste. Some demanded silence, a containment order. Others argued to strip Davin of his access before the term became anchored in public record. But one voice cut through the din. Councillor Threa, old and silver-winged, stood. "I was raised by a woman not of my blood," she said. She taught me not to fear fire, but to carry it carefully. She never asked for a crown, only to be allowed to love me. She paused. This is not a matter of governance. It is a matter of naming. Across the chamber, none could argue, because the law could not revoke a child's word. That night, the Queen entered Kaya's room. The girl was asleep, curled against Davin's side. His arm rested protectively around her, not in posture, but in instinct. The Queen sat beside them in the dark. "Do you know what you've done?" she asked softly. Davin's eyes opened. Calm. "Sure, I didn't do anything," he said. "She did." The Queen nodded, and for the first time, she let her crown rest on the floor beside her. Because in that moment, she was not ruler, she was mother. At dawn, the palace stood breathless. Every corridor had heard, every wing, every tier, from the kitchens to the high balconies where stars bled through glass ceilings. They all knew what Kaya had said. She had called him Dad, and now the crown had to respond. In the grand chamber, the Queen stood alone beneath the eye of succession, a sphere of living memory that pulsed above the throne, storing every act of bloodline, every oath, every failure. It did not judge, it simply remembered. The council waited in the tiers behind her, their silks and armor more ceremonial than defensive, but still arranged like a shield. They had come expecting a reversal, a containment, a careful redirection of emotion before law became entangled. Instead, they witnessed something none had seen in centuries. The Queen removed her crown, not in resignation, not in surrender, but in offering. She turned to face them, hair silver dark and unbound, her forehead bare for the first time since her coronation. Her voice did not rise, it did not echo, but it filled the chamber all the same. "I was raised on duty, on lineage, on silence and legacy. I was told what could and could not be loved. I obeyed. I watched the man I loved die beneath that obedience." Whispers stirred behind her. They did not interrupt. My daughter was born from that silence. And for years, she lived inside it, unmoving, untouched, until a man with no title spoke to her, not with authority, but with gentleness. And now she remembers how to laugh. She looked at the empty cradle carved into the floor, where future heirs had once been baptized in memory. "It is broken," she said, "but perhaps what grows now grows freer." Then she did something no one expected. She placed the crown, glowing, ancient, heavy with memory, not back on her head, but before Kaya, and then she turned to Davin, who stood just inside the arch, steady and still. "You came to us as a stranger," she said. "You never asked for name nor place. But the child, my child, gave you both." She stepped forward and held out a ring. It was not ornate. No gems, no sigils, just a thin band of etched alloy worn by the first bloodline protectors in Threxian history. Guardians, fathers, chosen by declaration, not blood. Davin didn't reach for it. He knelt, not as submission, as understanding. She placed the ring in his palm, and the eye of succession flared to life, not in rejection, but in acceptance, because the eye does not serve thrones, it serves memory, and memory had already chosen. The ceremony was never held. No procession, no banners, no declarations from the crystal balconies of the High Court. The moment had already happened in a hallway, in a word, in the soft grasp of a child's hand around a soldier's wrist. But Threxion still changed, not all at once, not with fanfare, but slowly, like light through thick ice. Davin never wore the ring publicly. He kept it on a chain beneath his shirt, where Kaya's fingers often sought it during moments of uncertainty. She called it her homestone, a name she'd invented, though no one ever corrected her. When she curled against him during the long journeys between chambers, she'd trace its edge until her breath evened and her thoughts settled. The Queen never took the crown back. She allowed the eye to hold it not in storage, but in stewardship. For one day, when Kaya would choose whether to wear it, whether she wanted a throne or something else entirely. In the gardens behind the palace, once ornamental, always unused, Davin planted earth flowers. Not perfectly. The soil here wasn't meant for such delicate roots, but they took anyway. Kaya helped him. Sometimes they failed. The blossoms withered overnight. Other times they bloomed, strange and tilted, the colors warped by alien light. But still, they grew. She laughed more now, not often, not performative. Just in small moments, the way light glints through curtains without asking permission. She wrote stories, some in Threxian glyphs, others in Earth language. All of them were about people who didn't belong in castles, but found something even more rare, kindness in forgotten places. One day, without announcement, the queen stepped down, not from rule but from distance. She joined them in the garden, kneeling beside the dirt she had once thought beneath her. She touched the petals with fingers still lined by law, but softened by something older. "I thought this place would outlive me," she whispered. "It will," Davin said, "but maybe not the way you feared." No one called it revolution. They called it becoming. The council no longer referred to Kaya as an heir. They called her Bridge, the girl who laughed like rain and remembered not through genetics, but through choice. Davin never took a title. He took Kaya's hand. That was enough. In time, the palace removed the barriers between the wings. The nobles walked the same halls as the servants. The archives recorded names that had once been dismissed as lesser. Custodians, cooks, technicians, their oaths carried the same weight as those etched into stone. Because law is only sacred when memory is shared. Because family isn't forged in blood. It's chosen in the quiet. And on the steps of the garden, beneath a sky not yet claimed by war or prophecy, a child once silent whispered her story into the ear of the man she had chosen. "My name is Kaya," she said. "I used to live in a castle made of silence. Now I live in a place without walls." Davin smiled. "You built it," he said. She nodded, and the garden grew.